Hi there, good morning and welcome to this broadcast here on this channel GHOne TV. My name is Mohammed. Coming up in the next 60 minutes comprehensively, these are our top stories. Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa dismisses fears over U.S. visa policy changes, saying that Ghana is not a dumping site for U.S. deportees. We'll take a deep dive into the opposition NPP's flag bearer race as a new Info Analytics poll puts Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia ahead amid voter register bias. Deaf community calls for stronger support and awareness on reproductive health rights as the world celebrates World Safe Abortion Day yesterday. Ghana's fifth IMF review opens today with $360 million support tied to successful staff assessment. And later in the U.S., death toll climbs to minutes package to stay tuned in. Hello again. Once again, my name is Mohammed. The Minister for Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, has dismissed what he describes as an avalanche of conspiracy theories and scaremongering following the reversal of U.S. visa restrictions on Ghana. The updated policy now allows Ghanaians to apply for 5-year multiple entry visas along with other enhanced consular privileges. In July 2025, I'm sure you'd recall, the U.S. government imposed visa restrictions on several countries, including Ghana, limiting citizens to a maximum 3-month single-entry visa. The Trump administration at the time cited long-standing concerns about visa overstays, particularly among Ghanaian students. Since the announcement, there has been widespread concern and speculation giving Ghana's agreement to facilitate the deportation of West Africans from the U.S. However, the sector minister has given assurances that this arrangement carries no hidden cost to the country's sovereignty or security. In a social media post on X, the minister emphasized that Ghana will not be a dumping ground for U.S. removals and nor be accepting criminals from the United States. Now, some critics are demanding transparency regarding the terms of the deal. Speaking on GH today, former Member of Parliament for Anyaso Otum, Dr. Dixon Adumakokisi, believes if it were in exchange for the deportees, then it's a bad deal.
I think that from an international standpoint, we've accepted people without passports into our country. And I would like for the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration to explain to Ghanaians, Minister of Foreign Affairs, to explain a bit more to Ghanaians how that happened. Because we can only admit foreign people into this country with a known passport, and that clarity needs to be given to us. I remember the NDC during the Nanado administration made a lot of noise about such international consideration. What has changed? What really has changed? A very strong perception that the minister sold our country for cheap and allowed for this transaction of admitting to. This is admit to and make visas available for thousands. And I think that it's a bad deal.
Now, on his part, a senior member of the Movement for Change, Richard Suma, suggests that the sector minister likely had little to do with the decision. He described the agreement as mediocre.
We have a 40-year development plan, Madam Lily. When was the last time you heard anybody talk about the so-called 40-year development plan that has been developed by the National Development Secretariat? We throw it to the dustbin. But at the end of the day,
always.
But the commission is there, and that National Development Planning Secretariat, or whatever they call it, they are living on salaries. So all these things that they're putting together for 40 years, have we been able to track it and say that this is the beginning and this is supposed to be the end, so that we can measure and see the progress as which we are progressing to achieve our so-called 40-year development plan? Nkrumah had a vision, gave you 7-year development plan. He worked on it. What did we do? We didn't believe in him. We overthrew him, and now we are talking about 40 years. When those sitting in that office developing the 40 years plan, they know they may not even live for the next 20 years. So at the end of the day, we are just lying to ourselves, praising ourselves, saying we are doing something ourselves. So if now US have decided to reverse a 3-month visa to 5 years, then hey, we should start singing praises and praising the government for restoring 5 years visa multiple entry for us. What does that bring to my table as a Ghanaian? Zero. And how many Ghanaians today even have a passport to even travel out of this country? Zero. So they should stop throwing dust into our eyes with some of these things for us to be praising them. When Okujoto did this, he quickly put it on his Facebook that we should praise him. I will not praise him. He has done nothing. It is a petty and mediocrity thing that I wish I will not fall for. They can say that to the Marines, but certainly not me.
Well, let's still stay on the conversation. Joining us is Dr. Innocent Badasu. He's assistant professor in African Affairs at the University of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. He's also an international relations person. Now, thank you very much, Doc, for joining us. Good morning to you.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here.
I know it's quite early for you, but thank you for your time. Now, many are criticizing the deportation deal and then criticizing what they say is perhaps an arrangement with the United States for a lift on the restrictions on Ghana. From an international relations standpoint, do you think that Ghana, on just conversation basis, could have urged the United States, I beg your pardon, to lift those restrictions without the United States getting any benefit?
All right. Thank you very much. And I like the premise that you have said about how we see this from an international relations perspective. I, over the last 10 years, been teaching and researching around U.S. foreign policy, particularly focusing on its implications in Africa. I do not think, first of all, that the restrictions that were imposed were restrictions that were negotiated by the two parties. No. It was a unilateral decision that was made by the State Department of the U.S. and subsequently communicated to states that were affected or countries that were affected. To that extent, that they can make a unilateral decision in relation to their partners or allies or friends around the world, it is also important for us to recognize that reversal of the decision can also be a unilateral decision. But of course, it's important to know that at the time that the restrictions were imposed, we got some kind of announcement from the foreign minister that the Ghanaian government was going to pursue options that were available on the table to be able to negotiate with the American counterpart to make a case for the visa restrictions to be withdrawn. And so as we are seeing the withdrawal, we have seen the withdrawal coming at a time that we are also battling with the deportation arrangement. And it does look like people believe that, okay, what happened in the diplomatic boardroom was an exchange of favor. And that exchange of favor was for Ghanaian counterparts to receive deportees in exchange for the Americans to lift visa restrictions. At this stage, that would only be a case of speculation unless the parties that were involved in that diplomatic negotiations either confirm or they deny. And often we would have to take the official explanations that they give. It does not take away our ability to also speculate on the matter. But I have heard some other people believe that the restrictions that have been lifted is mediocre and therefore does not bring anything to the table. I completely differ. Visas are extremely important. Otherwise, they would not be there in the first place. People's mobility are dependent on visas. And that mobility means that you are reconnecting with family wherever they are. And so there is a social significance of having a visa to be able to move around the world. It's also important to note that when you have a 5-year visa, for instance, from the Americans, that also helps you to be able to automatically, if you like, transit in some airport without further hindrances. So it's also important to note that these are some of the other dimensions that the visa restrictions actually imposed on a Ghanaian traveler. So social mobility is important, and by that, those who move around the world for professional activities, what it means is that they earn a decent living, and that also boosts remittances. And you know the significance of remittances in our political economy. So I completely take a different path on that analysis.
Okay. Now, Doc, let's also look at the criticism on the secrecy of the deal. Do you think that government should make public details of this deal? Government says, I signed a memorandum with the United States, but in the spirit of transparency, do you think that it is advisable to make the details public?
All right. Thank you. I have seen and heard two things, and this is me speaking from a privileged perspective. I have some level of access to the State Department, and I have a fair idea how things look like on the American part. And I think that if you listen to the Americans who are speaking somehow, either through representation in their court system or any other media engagement, limited media engagement, of course, the words or the phrase that they keep using is that this whole operation, it's on the basis of diplomatic assurance. Now, when I hear them use the phrase, they were operating on the basis of a diplomatic assurance, that is entirely different from the line that is being used by the Ghanaian officials or the Ghanaian counterparts. And there I hear the use of the word agreement. And some would want to further invite the constitutional provision that talks about an international agreement that must be ratified in Parliament. Right. So if you ask me, if government was supposed to make this public, who is the public? The public is the Ghanaian citizen. One, I think the president, when he met the press, spoke. And when he spoke, that was an attempt to convey to the Ghanaian public some level of information in relation to the diplomatic assurances underpinning the whole arrangement to receive, if you like, American removals. And then again, subsequently, beyond the president, you had the foreign minister also holding meet the press kind of event through the Government Accountability Series event and spoke extensively on the subject matter and other media engagement that he's been involved in over the period. So if you ask me, the public needs to know, I agree. We need to bring transparency to the table, I agree. And we must be also be sincere and honest as well. And I think that the president was quite open to have allowed that question in the first place. Right. He could have moved away from not commenting on it, but he did, and the foreign minister has done. And now we are in the public square for further conversation, and we are seeing some level of engagement. So I take on board the criticisms that have come that, yes, the public must know. But what then do we think is hidden from the public at this stage? They have not been able to make a case that, okay, this is what is missing in the public domain. This is what we do not know and would like to know. All right. The Ghanaian government has been transparent in communicating around this arrangement that is in place for receiving deportees.
All right. Doc, thank you very much. We do appreciate your time with us. You can go back and rest. That's Dr. Innocent Badasu. He is Assistant Professor for African Affairs at the University of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. Let's do some politics now. A new poll by Global Info Analytics has projected former Vice President Dr. Mohammed Bawumia to lead the New Patriotic Party in the upcoming flag bearer race. According to the report, 57% of Ghanaians prefer Dr. Mohammed Bawumia to lead the opposition NPP into the next general election. The polls positioned former Assam Central Kennedy Ejapong following at 29.3%. Former Education Minister Yawse Duchum and former Agric Minister Dr. Brian Champo scored 6% and 4.6% respectively, while former General Secretary of the NPP Kwabna Ejapong came at the bottom of the poll with 3.3%. The survey shows strong preference for Dr. Bawumia among Ghanaians while declining support among delegates. Spokesperson to Dr. Brian Champon campaign has been reacting to this, where he dismissed the Global Info Analytics poll, placing Dr. Bawumia as the NPP's flag bearer. He maintains the poll is unscientific and questionable.
For me, being a political person, being a numbers person, and mind you, my background is in economics before medicine, so I've done a lot of statistics, and I can tell you that there's a very questionable poll in terms of its timing. I'll keep saying it here. The very instructive one will be when, especially the new entrants, have had a chance of engaging the voters. And this will be likely around November, December. And that is where I think that there'll be clarity whether or not. And let me also be categorical here that the 57 is very questionable because, as I said here on this set, that Dr. Duchum, Dr. Brian Champon, and even Kwabena Ejapong, who was with DMB, have left and are now in the contest. And each of those, supposing they didn't even have following, mind you, the Eastern region bloc is heavy. And just going by that alone, should Brian pull, by just joining the race, pull 10% from DMB, I mean, you'll not be at 57. So I take this with a grain of salt, and I will be very clear to Musa Danko when I see him.
Now, the Kennedy Ejapong campaign team is demanding action against two regional chairpersons accused of making claims of manipulation in the NPP's electoral register. In a statement dated September 28, 2025, the camp cites viral videos in which the Shanti Regional Chair Bernard Nchibuesiako and Bono Regional Chair Kwame Bafu allegedly suggested that the voters' roll had been tampered with. The Ejapong camp describes the remarks as gross misconduct and a violation of the party's constitution, stressing that such claims threaten the credibility and unity of the New Patriotic Party. It further argues that as senior members of the National Executive Council and National Council, the chairperson's comments carry significant weight and that mere disassociation from party leadership is not enough. The team is also calling on the party's disciplinary bodies to urgently summon and sanction the two chairpersons, insisting that decisive action is necessary to prove that no one is above party regulations. So we're able to engage a Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party on what the party is doing to be able to, there are concerns raised by the Kennedy Ejapong campaign team. And this morning, the Brian Champon campaign team also raised similar questions and concerns, what the party is doing to ensure fairness in that regard. Let's move on. We'll come back to that later. Calls have heightened for African leaders to show commitment to ratifying protocols that safeguard and promote human rights across the continent continent. This came to light at a conference on advocacy for the ratification and implementation of treaties under the African Commission on Human Rights and People's Rights Monitoring. I'll come to that story shortly, but I mentioned to you that we're able to speak to a Deputy General Secretary of the NPP, Mohammed. He has joined us on phone. Mr. Mohammed, thank you very much for joining us. Still morning, so good morning to you.
Good morning.
I trust you're doing well. And how's your party doing after allegations of unfairness and voter register bias?
It's normal. It's in politics in every competition. People who always find very uncomfortable with certain statements and certain actions of individuals from all sides. So as a political party, we are well aware of some of these particular tendencies, and the party is very focused on ensuring that we will conduct a free and fair elections as we have done in the past.
Now, Mr. Mohammed, the allegations are grave. The camps have called for stricter sanctions on these persons. Is that what the party is considering?
Sanctions on what? Sanctions on what?
Sanctions on... Come again?
If you can refresh my memory on the particular subject matter that they are calling the sanctions on.
They are calling for sanctions on the Bono Regional Chair and Chairman Wontumi.
Chairman Wontumi said what has been put out there is doctored. So meaning that he did not say what is said to have been said. And we have also issued a statement cautioning members and also indicating that the compilation of register in the MPP is not a monopoly of any individual.
But this comes thing that your statement just admonishing members is just mere rhetoric. They want proper sanctions as your party constitution dictates.
Which people said so?
The Kennedy Japan campaign and the Brian Champon campaign team.
Assuming we were to apply stricter sanctions to all of them, I believe that all of them wouldn't have been even members of the party. They have made more dangerous commentaries among all the other contestants. So the party has a procedure of dealing with all these matters. As part of dealing with them, caution is part of sanctioning because you start from somewhere to another place. This is a matter that has been expressed in their own opinion as to what they wanted the party to do. And that is not how party management is done. So we are on course and we are dealing with those particular matters. So I don't think that there is a need for a call for somebody to be punished. If in the party you think that you want somebody to be punished and then there is a rule that you think that has been broken, what you ought to do is to have sent a petition quoting the infractions as contained in the party's constitution. So the General Secretary of the party, at the appropriate time, will issue a statement guiding how this year's album validation process is going to be done. In the last validation, I led the validation process. And what happens was that every constituency, the Council of Elders of every constituency was the chairman of the validation process. The constituency chairman was a member. The secretary of the constituency was a secretary and member. We had the organizer as a member. We had the MP as a member in the validation process and the research and elections officer then. So we have a watertight process of how we get these things done. No matter how somebody has his own opinion or a dislike for any individual within the party will not be affected by that person's decision. It's going to be a decision of a procedure. And I can assure anybody out there who has been delegated and voted in the presidential primaries, if not by the action of God, that is nature, by way of death, nobody is going to be taken out of the album, except in a manner where somebody have decided to forfeit the person's membership. So, and this will certainly be done by documentation. So I don't think that anybody has monopoly over it. There is procedure and the procedure will prevail.
Okay, thank you very much. That's GHOne Mohammed. He's a Deputy General Secretary for the New Patriotic Party. Now, as I mentioned to you earlier, calls have heightened for African leaders to show commitment to ratifying protocols that safeguard and promote human rights across the continent.
As part part of efforts by the African Commission on Human and People's Rights to ensure that the rights of Africans are safeguarded across the continent, stakeholders have gathered in Accra for a 2-day conference. The aim is to advocate the ratification and implementation of treaties to entrench human rights. Vice Chairperson of the ACHPR, Janet Ramatuli Salah Inji, called on African leaders to show commitment by ratifying key protocols, including the Charter on the Rights of Citizens to Social Protection and Social Security.
As the treaty monitoring body, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, we have so many instruments we use to hold states accountable to ensure that they're able to implement their obligations. But then, as I indicated in my opening statement, there are multifaceted challenges when it comes to implementation. The most important is the political will, because once you have the political will, you find that you can carry the population to ensure full implementation of instruments. But of course, in our African context, we have our African culture and some of the things that are used. But as the African Commission these days, we actually take the multidimensional approach, integrated approach, where when we go in country, we don't only talk to officials, we also embrace and also engage religious and traditional leaders. So these days, we want to use the religious leaders and the traditional leaders to help us raise awareness on some of the very important rights that are enshrined in these instruments.
On her part, Chief State Attorney and Director of International Law Division, Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice, Ghana, Dr. Sylvia Ama Adusu, reiterated Ghana's commitment to ratifying the protocols with a call on other African leaders to emulate same.
The Attorney General was calling on African leaders to have the political will to ratify all the treaties that have to be ratified and implementing them, because a country that does not respect its human rights is a country that's doomed to failure. And for Africa, the human rights of its citizens is very, very important, because some of the horrendous human rights violations occur here. And so by the speech, the Attorney General is saying that at the highest level, there must be the political will to ratify all these instruments we talked about, the treaties, and then to implement them.
The conference is, among others, expected to deepen knowledge of the content of the treaties, enhance stakeholder understanding and commitment through ratification, and also solicit commitment of member states to ratify the protocols.
Now, did you know that sports and physical activity can help manage and even overcome mental health conditions such as depression without the use of medication? Well, according to the Mental Health Authority, regular exercise helps restore healthy brain functions. It is for this reason that the authority has partnered with suicide prevention NGO Winglo Family International to champion this cause.
Family International is a Ghanaian non-governmental organization dedicated to suicide prevention, mental health advocacy, and humanitarian outreach. At a point in the life of the founder, Gloria Boatima Andor, who is a mother of 2, she once found herself overwhelmed by the demands of motherhood. But turning to tennis helped her cope with the emotional struggles.
I was overwhelmed with my motherly duty, and tennis really helped clear my head, aside God. The reason why people are taking their life is most people are not hearing the inspirational messages, the positive, that is the word of God, and things like this help them to actually calm down. Let's all put our money to things that are worthy like this, to also reach out to others so that we can help drop the numbers.
Speaking to the news team, the CEO of the Mental Health Authority expressed concern over the rising number of suicide-related deaths in Ghana.
For people who are depressed, sports alone can help them come out of depression without medication. We want to get into a level where every hospital will have a mental health person attached to it, so that we can seek mental health care in every hospital. When those severe cases which cannot be managed in the community are brought to our attention in the psychiatric hospital, those ones will be used to teach or train new professionals to understand mental health. So we are going to reduce the psych hospitals mainly as a teaching centers.
Celebrated journalist Oheniri Gifty Auntie, who was part of the event, shared her challenges with mental health and encouraged others to seek support and find healthy distractions.
Tennis is something that requires your whole faculties. Your brain is working, your hand is working, your leg is working, your tummy is working, your lungs, your heart, everything is working. So tennis is something that demands your total being, and that is mental health. Today you are low, tomorrow you are there. I've been through that and I've written about it. But today this is me here. Reach out to Winglow Family International and you get people to help you. Trust me, I need you to be alive. I need you to be okay. So please, it's okay not to be okay, but you will be okay.
Tennis is a sport that many play just for the love of the game. But not many or any use tennis and mix it to highlight suicide prevention. Here at the Reach Tennis Club, they are highlighting suicide prevention along with the sport of tennis. Let's hear what they have to say.
Mental health is real, and I would want to encourage everyone to check up on someone. People are going through stuff, people are committing suicide every day, so I just want to encourage you to check up on someone.
People are not really taking mental health seriously. You don't need to be, excuse my language, mad on the road for us to know that you're really having certain mental issues, but there are a lot of crop of things that come up together. So when it comes to events like this, we get educated and then we put in our best as usual to help.
Now, every year, more than 2,000 women in Ghana lose their lives to cervical cancer, a disease that is largely preventable if detected early. In a bold step to change this narrative, Suroptimist International Ghana organized a cervical cancer awareness and screening exercise in Accra.
Cervical cancer remains one of the leading causes of cancer-related deaths among women in Ghana. Each year, over 2,000 women lose their lives to the disease, leaving families devastated and communities in grief. Health experts warn the tragedy is preventable with early screening and timely treatment, offering the best chance of survival. Here is President of Suroptimist International Ghana, Accra chapter, Dr. Moko Akita, urging Ghanaians to embrace early screening.
Knowledge, as we all know, helps a lot. If you know something and you try to do it, it helps. And like I said, it's not just an health issue, but then a social issue. And most people attach stigmatization to it. So even if they have the diseases or the virus, they find it very difficult to go for screening. So when you create the awareness, you tell people why it is very necessary to visit the clinic, even though you don't have what it takes to take you there. It's very necessary you go, you are told, and for all you know, you might meet someone there who will be ready to pay for your medical bills.
A clinical oncologist at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Juanita Nkansa, who described the awareness campaign as timely, advised parents to avail the awards for the upcoming vaccination against HPV for girls aged 9 to 14 years.
Since Ghana is going to enroll the HPV vaccine, going to add it to the immunization schedule, we are encouraging everyone, let your girl child be vaccinated from the age of 9 to 14. But like we mentioned, it's not just for girls. Just like in Ghana, for now, it's a step in the right direction. They are enrolling their girls. If you have a boy child, they also need to be vaccinated as well. The human papilloma virus, it's not only cervical cancer it causes, it also causes some other cancers in the head and neck, such as oropharyngeal cancers. So yes, if you get vaccinated, you also prevent those cancers as well.
Some participants also shared their experiences with GHOneNews.
Everybody, you have to do it because it is very important. You have to do it, and it's not anything that you have to fear about it, feeling shy.
My partner that sent the photo to me, it was comfortable because I didn't feel any discomfort. Very important, and I would like to invite them over and over again when there is an opportunity for this.
The awareness campaign and screening exercise brought together dozens of young women, men, health officers and partners with plans to extend same to markets in order to deepen awareness on cervical cancer.
Now, as part of World Safe Abortion Day 2025, the Ghana National Association of the Deaf is highlighting the sexual and reproductive health needs of deaf people. The group is calling for greater public awareness and stronger support from government and civil society to improve access to safe abortion and other reproductive health services. This call comes in line with global conventions such as the International Conference on Population and Development and the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, which affirms the right of persons with disability to highlight to the highest attainable standard of sexual and reproductive health. But in Ghana, deaf people continue to face exclusion from health education and services due to inaccessible communication and weak policy support barriers that put many at serious health risk. Wing Abigail Osi Esinom Shalom Alobu is also a teacher and a peer educator for SRH in the deaf schools. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, what are your challenges, especially for persons with hearing impairment, facing accessing SRH, including safe abortion?
Okay, so for the deaf community, we have some challenges when it comes to adverts, when it comes to TV programs, where they are talking about safe abortion or SRH issues. We don't have interpreters. So then we are left out. We are not able to follow and get the information that we need so that when our people have same challenges, they can also go and get the needed support that they are supposed to get.
Now, let's find out. You wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Yes, so when we talk about communication barrier, as my sister just said earlier on, for sexual reproductive health, I think it's one of the bigger issues that Ghana, we have been advocating for. And safe abortion is also part of that. So we always need that such information that are being published, mostly with the health publications when it comes to safe abortion. Sign language interpreters should be provided because most of our women, most of our girls are left out. They always have to depend on their friends. They don't get the trusted information or information coming from the professionals. So they always have to depend on their friends, and we know that they will not get the proper information from them.
When you go to the hospitals, how is reception like for you, especially when it comes to reproductive health?
The problem is that for the hospitals, when we attend hospitals, when we go to any health facility, the only challenge that deaf people face is how we express ourselves to the nurses because we are not able to express ourselves. If you want to tell the nurse or the doctor what is actually going on or the problem that you are facing, when you try explaining that, they don't understand because of communication barriers. So they end up giving you maybe the wrong prescription or they end up misdiagnosing you. That is the challenge that we face. And to add up to that, sometimes to some of the nurses to maybe when they see a deaf person, because of the frustration of communicating with you, they will either end up neglecting you or not even paying attention to you, or they will just misdiagnose you and just give you anything. But we want to have communication. We want to be able to express ourselves and get the proper treatment.
Now, what does NAD want policymakers to incorporate when drafting policies, especially on persons like yourself, on reproductive health and on safe abortion?
What we want the government or policymakers to do is that in most of their policies, when it comes to education on sexual reproductive health, when it comes to education on safe abortion, they should always make sure that deaf people have access to the information. Not just access, but we want professional people, that is the doctors, the nurses, the health workers. They should give us the appropriate information, that is providing sign language interpreters. That is the only way that we can also feel, as part of the community. And to add up to that, government should also make sure that when it comes to providing of sign language interpreters, in most of their programs, or most of the health news or the health programs that government organize for schools and the community, they should at least, if they can provide sign language interpreters, at least they should have, subtitles where the people can also read, because that way you are including them. That way they also get to know what is happening, and they can also make right decisions for themselves.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you too.
All right. That's Abigail Osi. She's Vice President for the National Association of the Deaf Youth Wing, and Esinam Shalom Alobu is also a teacher and a peer educator for SRE in the deaf schools. Let's head to the business world.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
In business this afternoon, an International Monetary Fund mission is in Accra to conduct Ghana's fifth review under the 3-year, $3 billion extended credit facility from today, September 29. The review, which is the second to last before the program ends in May 2026, will determine whether Ghana secures its next $360 million disbursement in October and signal the country's fiscal credibility as IMF oversight winds down. Ghana entered the program in May 2023 to restore fiscal stability, restructure debt, rebuild reserves, and implement reforms aimed at promoting sustainable growth. To date, $2.3 billion has been disbursed, with the last tranche following July's fourth review. The IMF team will review Ghana's macroeconomic scorecard, focusing on fiscal discipline, inflation and monetary policy, financial sector stability, and social spending. A successful review would reinforce market and investor confidence and showcase Ghana's ability to sustain reforms without IMF pressure. Failure could delay financing and settle markets and amplify political and fiscal risk ahead of elections. Now, Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman has called for a renewed phase of Ghana-China relations that prioritizes opportunities for young people and lays the foundation for sustainable economic growth.
Well, Ghana is determined to ensure that our trade and our relations translate into sustainable local development. And we want to emphasize our brilliant, determined youth. We acknowledge the roles of China in development of our infrastructure, and I refer to roads, bridges, hospitals, educational facilities, even cultural exchanges. But in all of this, as I said, we want our emphasis to go on our youth. So what should be our current outlook? We are implementing our 24-hour economy program, which emphasizes the creation of jobs, modernization, connectivity, exports, and the attendant many more opportunities. This means then that there is potential to deepen our relationship and collaboration with China in many areas, including energy, renewable power, digital technology, trade facilitation within the African Continental Free Trade Area, and others.
Now, the Ghana Revenue Authority has ruled that allowances paid to district assembly members will now be treated as employment income and be taxed accordingly. The authority explained that under the Income Tax Act, Section 133, the role of assembly members qualify as public office, making the allowances taxable. The ruling further clarifies how elected or appointed assembly members who have no other formal employment will be taxed, just like any regular employment income. However, those who already hold jobs elsewhere will face a 10% withholding tax on their assembly allowances. At the end of the year, they will be required to file returns that combine both incomes.
The Business Brief was brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
Up next is the latest update in sports with Benjamin Yamwa-Bengazi.
A bad note of Ibiani Gold Stars in the Albanian Champions campaign coming to an end. Heartbreak. So they suffered a 5-0 thrashing at the hands of Algerian giants JS Kabylie in Tizu Ouzou on Sunday. Kodokomiwa progressed to the final qualifier on the CAF Competition Cup after defeating Kwara 1-0 in Abeokuta on Sunday, sealing a 5-3 aggregate win over their opponents. And the Ghanaian champions, who edged a 7-goal thriller in the first leg in Accra, displayed resilience at the MKO Abiola Stadium as Hubert Jeu's second-half strike proved decisive as he Kodoko ordered 3 points at stake and a win to ensure they qualified over their opponents, where they will take on Moroccan giants WAC of Morocco in the next round of the ongoing qualifiers in October in the CAF Confederation Cup. So mixed feelings for the Ghanaian class. Kodoko progressing, Gold Stars out of the Champions League. Meanwhile, University of Development Studies, UDS, has etched its name in history after winning the FISU World University Football Tournament that was held in China. This follows their dramatic 2-1 victory over Brazil's Paulista University in a final game played on Sunday. The Ghanaian side had to dig deep after Gabriel Vieira stunned them with a goal in the opening 30 seconds of the match. Striking late in the time to level the score, and at a time as well in extra time, a late goal from Izzuddin Hassan scored from a corner kick to seal the comeback win for the Ghanaians. UDS journey to glory has been inspiring after a 10 semi-final clash with Spain's University of Granada ended goalless. The team held their nerve to triumph 5-4 on penalties after heroics from goalkeeper Emmanuel Edo. The victory also saw a defining moment for African university football as they become the continent's first ever winners of the prestigious tournament that is held for universities worldwide. This year it was held in China. To women's football, now where the Black Princesses booked a place at next round of the Under-20 Women's World Cup qualifiers following a win over Tunisia at the Accra Sports Stadium. Goals from Mercy Atobra and substitute Agnes Yeboah sealed a 2-0 2-goal advantage from the first leg. The Princesses came into the fixture on the back of similar win in the first leg that was played in Tunisia a week ago, where Mercy Atobra scored again in both games to ensure the tie now finished 4-0 for Ghana, who of course have moved on, where they will face South Africa in the next round of the qualifiers after the latest impressive win over Tunisia over the weekend here in Accra. Now to club football news in Ghana, where Arsenal continue their promotion started the ongoing campaign at GPL with a hard-fought 1-0 victory over 11 Wonders at the Accra Stadium on Friday night. The Phobians under new head coach Dramani came into the match full of confidence after a narrow 1-0 away victory over Dreams FC earlier in the week.
These men very keen to maintain their unbeaten run while keeping their perfect defensive record intact. Folk made their intentions very clear in the game. Despite a bright start from the visitors, it was the home side who broke the deadlock in the 17th minute. Midfielder Enoke Subontin capitalized on a defensive error from 11 Wonders, drawing a corner kick to calmly slot home what would eventually prove to be the winning goal. However, the Phobians created several more chances in the game, but were unable to add to their tally. While Haas defense remained resolute, With the backline and goalkeeping combining effectively to preserve the clean sheets, Hatterfolk are now unbeaten in their last 8 home matches and have started the season with 2 wins and a draw. For 11 Wonders, their return to the top flight has been far from smooth, having gained promotion through Division 1 League playoffs in May.
And that's it for sports. My name is Benjamin Yamoa.
The Minister of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Ablaji Fagumashi, is calling on Ghanaian filmmakers to tell indigenous stories as part of a collaborative effort with the ministry and other stakeholders to revive the local film industry.
I want to assure you that we're in a good place. Our younger sister, executive of National Film Authority, organized a dialogue just so we see what new things that we're struggling with and
and to be able to stand out in the creative space, we have to remain authentic and true to our cause. What we have is what other people don't have. So if we give people what they already have, why should they enjoy ours? So think about it. You see what I mean? Yes. Thank you.
International news. At least 4 people were killed and 8 others injured after a gunman drove a vehicle into a Michigan church, opened fire and set the building ablaze. Officials said the attack on the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc, a town 60 miles northwest of Detroit, happened during a Sunday service attended by hundreds of people. The suspect, identified as Thomas Jacob Sanford, a 40-year-old from Baton, Michigan, was later shot dead by police in the building's car park. Authorities are investigating the incident as an act of targeted violence, but say the motive remains unclear. That should do for the bulletin. My name is Lily Mohammed. Thank you for watching. For more news updates, kindly log on to starfm.com.gh. Good afternoon.